I have no idea. Yeah. It's.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And so.
And then they start drawing and then.
And also with you. Okay, you get it?
Send them to you just in case Jeanette wants to bring them. Okay, it's okay. All right, I'll come over it.
Yeah, if we need it.
Okay. Here and house, members of building. Through phase one, and that come up with this.
I could have hired this much.
And, yes, we have Jim Unzeitig. And he is. Feedback.
Yeah, because we're recording this and your machine's on and my machine's on. Yeah, let me do that. Let me, I think I might be able to. Hold on.
No, now it's off. I won't get feedback. So.
Yeah.
Where's that? And they're here this morning to talk to us about what is involved in phase two, because I know people had a lot of questions about that. And also what is involved in a design build process, which again might be a little unusual or something. So, but before I turn the floor over to them, I do want to share with you these two prayers that were pre-recorded by members of our capital appeal team, prayer team. As you know, we've wanted to pray our way through this process. So the first one is from Tony Fresh. In case you have not seen, they're all posted to various places on social media. I think Tony gets at it in this prayer, what it is that we're trying to do. So it's not very long. Now,
This way.
What about physical
can you
ability?
hear that?
When was the last time I was unable to go up and down stairs? Was it difficult? Did you get up the stairs? I know I always do. Did you make it? I am grateful that our church building to be more diverse in our approach to reach members of all backgrounds. I am grateful that our capital campaign will allow our church to include everyone that wishes to be present with us in fellowship. I continue to pray that the stairs we run up and down so easily will allow those unable to run and join with us in fellowship at St. Stephen's. If we are diverse, we must include everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Did you get it in? Okay. So the basic point Tony was trying to make was that we
wanting to be inclusive includes more than just race and gender and sexual orientation and those sort of. It includes also
Thank you.
wanted to share, and then they Sorry, I think here is that we've got two co-hosts.
I can log out. All right, all right.
With you. It's in a form of a prayer.
And just.
You better mute yourself. There we go.
I'm so sorry for difficulty and ineptitude. My apologies, right?
No, as Ryan Coppa just said, when we build, we're gonna wire the new fellowship hall for sound, so we don't run into this again. That exactly right. He gets a raise.
So those two prayers, one captures our vision of wanting to be truly inclusive, and the other, of course, comes at the problem from a place of abundance and thanks. So that's my 2 cents worth for where we are in this moment. And I don't think I need to say any more. So we're going to turn it over.
First of all, thank you very much. My name is Jorge Lopez, and I want to thank Pastor Riba and Dan Hebring, and also the building renovation team for giving us this opportunity to come here and speak with you and answer questions together. So we're here to talk about the phase 2 of the process, to talk about the building process in general. Phase 1 was very successful. Phase 1, we were able to work with the building renovation team and take up your surveys that we received and look it over and create a design that we think fills the needs of the community that we have here. It also helped us select a contractor, get some preliminary pricing and get some direction on that. I thought we could see the video now real quickly. Some of you may have seen this video. If not, it is on YouTube, and I'm sure Pastor Ridba or someone from the building renovation team has a link that they can share with you. If you want to see it again.
It has been shared actually through our e-news.
Oh, okay.
So I know not everybody looks at it as often as we would like them to, but it's out there.
No problem. Audio
If I,
It's muted.
it's muted, because if I turn the audio on, then we get all this reverb and it won't be loud enough. Sorry.
This is background music, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really nice background music, but it's just background.
Oh, gee. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
This would be like a preview. A sneak preview, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, Jorge can walk us through. Yeah, that woman's still in the video. Yeah, really.
The screen starts with a plan view. It's showing the existing, the new front area of the two new spaces, handicap spaces, and then also the addition towards the back. And then it kind of shows kind of the views of the back from the back parking lot, from the east parking lot. It kind of rolls around. We can see there's a new entrance for the offices on the side, and then parking in the front. And it shows that what you had with this, and then again shows the addition. Then we're coming into the front, this new side entrance, which would be the new office entrance, which would be accessible. It'd be on one level.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's a ramp in the back too that goes to the back part.
Right.
That area too. New offices were coming in, for the secretary and pastor, and then a little larger fellowship hall.
Yeah.
Kind of remodel and new openings to here, kind of to open that up. And then there'll be a wing of handicap accessible restrooms, single use units, and also mother's room there. And then a new coffee bar area off of the central nave here. And then, of course, you've got the existing church. You can see how it kind of ties in with the existing worship space. And then looking back towards the fellowship hall and through that to the remodeled kitchen area, which would have a wider serving area and updated equipment, maybe more commercial equipment as well. And then we're zooming out, panning out, seeing the Pastor Rizzo there looking very happy. Pretty good explanation you see there. I like to, I did want to see that because some of you may or may not have seen it. I mean, a lot of people look at this two-dimensional and say, well, what we're looking at exactly. Hopefully gives you. I think phase one wasn't acceptable putting it all together. Now, phase two, there's been some questions of what does that mean? What are we doing here? For your survey, you folks wanted a multi-phase kind of renovation design as part of the option. So we did that for our contract. And phase two basically begins the completion of the working drawings. So to get a building built, you need working drawings completed that basically shows everything. This is a schematic. It doesn't show everything. It doesn't show what all the wall construction is going to be. It doesn't show any hour ratings. It doesn't show what exactly the doors are going to be made of or what all that. So that's what the working drawings will do. And also set of specifications. And when we do that, then we give that to our contractor, and then they would work through that and see what it is exactly we're doing and get a more defined cost. So we have a good idea of what it costs, but then we'll have a more refined cost. So phase two starts from that process. We start our drawings all the way through to the completion of the building. So phase two includes you having the remodeled building completed, walking in and enjoying and using it. So, just to make sure you understand that. Now, along the way, we're going to be talking with the building renovation team periodically, kind of assessing where we're at. Jim Unzeitig is going to look at the drawings and look out what's going on in the market, what's available, what's the cost. And maybe this door might be better than that door, things like that. Maybe we go back to the building renovation team, say, hey, I think this would be a better one. It still provides all the needs we need. It meets code. It's okay. What do you think? That sounds good. We'll go there. So wherever possible, we would be looking at cost savings, of course, as well as how things are along the way. So if something happens that we start realizing, wait a minute, we're not getting our target goals. That's when we would come back to the renovation team and say, okay, let's talk. Do we want to continue this process? Do we need to reevaluate our goals? And so forth. We've done this before with Jim Unzeitig in St. Wenceslas Church here in Cedar Rapids. I was wondering if Jim would like to take a few moments and share the experience and how having him on board early on helps the process. The design build means the designers goes with the builders and they'll help get the building done. Go ahead, Jim. Thank you.
So we did the same process down in St. Louis on the elevator. Here, Jim Novak gave me basically a plan like this. I priced it out, and that was what we used for the church budget to start fundraising. And then we achieved the money we needed with budget. And we kept, then Gary and Jim started drawing the final drawings. I kept pricing all the way through. And it was successful, and we got it built pretty close to the budget we had. There were a few hiccups in it. The street in front of the church was under construction. There were new sewer lines going in. It was supposed to be one elevation. We put our sewer lines in for that elevation. The city didn't put them in that elevation, so we redo the sewer lines to raise them, but we figured out a way. The building committee decided they wanted stainless steel doors on the elevators. So instead of normally you put an elevator in, you build a shaft first and then drill a hole. Well, we decided to drill that shaft hole first and build around it with this little triangle. We figured out how to do it, and that got us the money saved there, got us the stainless steel elevator. So, and we were changing things throughout to meet budget or materials, which is going to be challenging now with the way the supply chain is. So maybe you pick a carpet, you can't get it. So we might have to change. Construction now is a little different. Before you could just call and get something tomorrow. Now it might be 6 weeks. So you have to plan ahead a lot more than what we were used to. That's kind of what we did on St. Louis. So.
Thank you. If I could just add something. I just want to mention that one thing, we've done a lot of work with churches. One thing that's very important to you is that while this process is going on, you can still come here and worship. Because that's one of the other challenges is to work with the church to make sure that we are able to allow you to still come on Sundays and worship and do your normal routine without any rush. So that's something else that we coordinate with the contractor and identifying our plans. So everybody is involved in the project knows what needs to happen.
So our initial presentations here and so forth, the bulk of this is to answer your questions and make you feel more comfortable with the process. So I'm opening up to the group.
So, Jonathan, go ahead.
You mentioned shutting south entrance, depending on that would be accessible. But that is the only accessible entrance.
No.
To the building.
No, you also have one over here off your fellowship hall. That is accessible.
It's accessible on the level, but the door is very heavy.
You don't have the pad there,
Yes.
so it's not up to code.
We would look into that and make sure that whatever ones you need to have accessible would have those opening devices added to it as part of the design. So if the building renovation team says we need to have both of these be accessible at all times, we would incorporate that in the drawings, and then Jim would price it and we go from there. So yes, we would make, I know a big push is accessibility to this building.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that we provide that for you. Anybody else?
And that's kind of a follow-up to that. Since that, until the renovation is done, that is currently the only entrance with no step. Would that stay accessible throughout the renovation? Or would there potentially be a phase of the renovation where that door is not accessible?
I anticipate it will be, but we would have to see the spacing. And if you take a look at the drawings, that door remains. We're not tearing it out. So the only question is when we put the parking out front, what does that mean exactly to
Yeah.
the ramp coming in, all that?
Yeah.
So the answer is we would definitely keep that in mind. And then we want to make sure that on days of worship, that is definitely going to be accessible, right?
Right.
I mean, that is a coordination issue, and that's something, if you let us know right away, you know, hey, we're having the worship this day or that day, or something special happening here, we have to have we'll coordinate with Jim, I'm
There
sure.
might be some caution tape on this line.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It could be too that focus on the new entrance off to the side here, the new entrance, and so then when we have to close this one, that one would be 100% available. And we would just let people know, hey, go to the side one, not to this main one, and we'll get them both in the end work.
Yep.
There will be some times, you're right, and
Yes.
there'll be some times where there's always construction going on here, you have to be careful, it's that thing.
John, question, Sherry.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
My only concern about that, because there's probably some way getting there, with the exception of basket. Because I think that's the only one right now that we can get.
If we have a funeral, yes, we have to be able to, because that's the only way they can
If
get.
I give them enough notice, a couple days.
Right.
We'll figure out. if you need
Right.
Something.
Yeah.
So talk to me about the conclusion of phase two. The conclusion of phase two, the congregation will have a set of working drawings, and we will have estimates from Unzeitig Construction and the subcontractors. So we will be as informed as we can be without putting a shovel in the ground.
Actually, John, phase two is a building. That is-
Okay.
That is the.
Right,
Before we shovel the ground, you
Correct.
have a price,
right.
and there will be because the contract will then be signed with the contractor at that point, and it's about, it's gonna be about 8% of the process would be, we would have that kind of going on.
And just so I can inject there, because the congregation has to actually approve that contract.
Right.
And so there's like a phase 2A and phase 2B. So we're starting phase 2A, which is the working drawings, and then phase 2B will be the actual construction.
Right.
And we have to have a little goes in the middle.
I know you don't have a crystal ball, but how long, once you start construction, how long do you think it might take? What do you anticipate?
He's got more stuff.
That's good, yes.
Go that I'll always start. Okay, so I mean, what we want to do is time this so that footings and foundations could be in until the weather gets bad, so that they can do their planning and things like that. Prior to that, and then work inside when the weather gets bad, and that would help you do something, so. We would take like 10 months to do the work.
Yeah.
So I do have a question from a person zooming in from Bob Streeper, and Bob wants to know, the questions Bob has are, what do you mean the phone won't recognize me when my mask is on? Come on. Jeez Louise. Bob wants to know, only 2 handicap parking spots and place for coats. So I'm wondering if you guys can address those 2 issues.
Well, the handicap parking spots in the front, there's 2, but you do have some in the back.
Right,
And back here, that will be handicap accessible. I mean, yeah, it's a ramp.
right,
And it's a long ramp, but it's a ramp.
right.
And it will meet code. And so the parking, you know, if the people, if there's, do you have a lot of handicap?
No, but
People that need the ramp.
well, no, not on a regular basis. No, that's going to evolve, of course, but really, we only have 1 now. Is that correct? In the on this elevation, on this side? Yeah, but they're really, I don't know if the 2 we have would meet current requirements. I don't think so. Well, that and there, I don't think they're wide enough. The new barrier-free parking spots need a spot for door swings. Right,
That will be, and then of course, back part.
yeah, we do.
That
Yeah.
would be accessible
Right.
via ramp.
And on a cold January morning, when I come in, where am I gonna hang up my coat?
Before we move to the code,
Oh, okay,
just to clarify, the parking lot that the ramp goes to is that side lot near the church house, correct? It's not the main parking lot,
Right.
in case people were wondering about logistics with that.
But the sidewalks,
Right, they do.
Yeah.
I just want people to have a good visual of where that ramp
well,
goes to.
Well, actually, you go away this sidewalk.
Right.
It's here.
it will connect. Yeah, yeah. So that would mean someone in a wheelchair could park in either of the back lots and have access to this new entranceway on a concrete ramp
Yes,
and a wheelchair accessible.
yes.
Yes,
Correctly sloped and everything.
Right.
Right, this with a pause space here.
yes, yes,
We need to.
yes,
Landing.
yes, yeah,
My understanding is that should fulfill the requirements.
Right.
of the city.
right.
Correct. I imagine the front one would be used for people using the office during the work week.
Yeah.
Because that's the other value of this is that theoretically, the office area can be a separate kind of heating and cooling space during the week. The rest of the building can be kind of brought down a little bit
Yeah.
temperature wise.
Yeah.
I think, but that's up to you how you want to function here.
Okay, coats. January morning, I'm walking in. I'm sorry.
the concern I know that people have is that the two filled with things, tables in one and chairs in the other. With the new kitchen, which is here, and it's going to take away, it's going to expand through Marilee's office and part of my office. So what is left of my office, this is what we imagine as the place where tables and chairs will be stored, because that's the place that is closest to the fellowship hall, right? Right here.
Yep.
So if you have to bring tables and chairs, they could be stored in here, which means that the two closets that are down at that end, at least one, if not both of them, will be available.
Right.
Which color design?
That's the original designer.
But it's not shown that way in the drawings, if I just might add. No. Right. Right.
Even before construction, like, we really need to talk about the table situation. For a couple reasons, they're extremely heavy and lots of times people 55 and over moving those, and it, you know, if those tables are like 50 some out, and I thought maybe we could, everybody, if we did a table drive and people were willing to buy a resin table. I just know it's a huge issue when we do have.
Yeah. I agree with you.
So I was just curious if that was part of.
But this budget does not include.
Right. A question to Mr. Unzeitig. Mr. Unzeitig, how are you dealing with inflationary changes that you're seeing? So a project's underway, it's been costed at a certain level, and all of a sudden, either one of your suppliers or a subcontractor supplier comes along and says, hey, listen, there's a price change that we've got to incorporate. How are you guys dealing with that right now?
Well, normally it's included, it's in our bid, the best
Yeah.
we can.
Yeah,
People, okay, this is going in 6 months, but the anticipated markup thing you need to.
right.
We've been in a 300,000 square foot warehouse a couple of months ago, and they told me anticipated 10% increase
Oh, my goodness.
in the metal building price, so I put it in.
Okay,
So as long as I was under construction by then, if they're ordered, it's not much. And I anticipate this is how it go here.
right.
I have the inflation in it that I need. But I anticipate starting 4 months and it's a year and a half start from now, then we got a problem.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Once we kind of start this process, we need to start thinking about getting things lined up. In other words, the price we get today for something isn't good 6 months from now or a year and a half from now. It's just not, that's not how it's going to work. So once you decide that this pricing is good and this looks good, we go and we go all the way.
Then I can order it, I can lock it.
Right, right.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying there might be a particular, we lock something in, then we find out we can't get it. We might have to change, but we still have
Right.
something comparable.
And as a follow-up, are you finding that a product that was specified and selected, the delivery date may extend on you beyond what you were first anticipated? So a flooring sample was selected, looked good, and then during construction, the flooring supplier says, by the way, that's not going to be available now for a number of months. Have you bumped into that?
That could happen. We used to get.
Yeah. Right. Right.
You could.
So on the project right now, Antioch Church is going to the Point YMCA.
Yep.
So we're ready to put floor coverings in. We were notified 2 weeks ago. Floor covering that was selected and ordered 3 months ago is now no longer again. There's a lot of things that go along with that.
Wow.
Manufacturing issues, etc. But we were able to find an alternative product to place in there and get it ordered and still maintain our schedule. So those kind of things do happen.
Yep.
And it's kind of aggravating on our side because we have to hope we can find something in a time frame that works for a project to keep costs control. So we're aware of those things going on, and we do everything we can to keep things in line.
So it's kind of a two-part question about your bid. First part is will it be a not to exceed bid that we'll receive from you, or
That's what I'm anticipating, yeah.
yeah, and is there going to be a line item for contingencies? There's always some little gotcha.
In my budget, I had a $30,000 contingency when I budgeted,
Okay,
just in case, because there are, that's
gotcha.
construction.
Well, there will be contingencies. You know, we will find things that we are not expecting during construction, and we've got to anticipate that. We've got to budget for
And
it.
you'll find things,
Yeah, that's right. Yep, like speakers in the corners of the room.
And it has good solid reputation and knows about things like making allowances for contingencies.
I just wanted to mention also part of the quote right now is, and I want to say, if you don't remember, $50,000 for kitchen equipment. And so those numbers were based off actual costs of elements we thought would go into the kitchen. Now, one of two things can happen. Those prices may go up, but you may select things that are less expensive than what we had in our budget. So at least you have a number to work toward. That when we put this together, or you could actually buy the things that need to go into that kitchen for that price.
Vern, you have a question?
On the new addition, is it going to be with basement or with slab?
I think we did pricing, and it's going to have just on slab, not a basement. We had Jim and the other contractors that bid on this to give the pricing, and it just was more money.
The heating and the air conditioner then will be where?
There's a spot for heating and air conditioning here in the janitor utility area. That we've kind of penned out there for that area. So we'll put that there, and then it'd be and that's something we need to discuss too, about whether we'll be doing anything with existing units you have here or leaving them where they are. That's a costing thing, but that would definitely have the new units for the new addition, so it could run separately.
Are you finding a lot of changes required between the working drawings and the construction drawings? Because I'm assuming that working drawings, you may have some very initial conversations with city officials just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. But I would imagine construction drawings now, we're going to have full plan examination, full plan review. You see a lot of changes between those two elements?
No, actually, I don't. I think I see more. There'll be more information on it.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure we're gonna add 6 more bathrooms all of a sudden or something.
You know, yeah, right.
document load in here and so forth, what's required by the city and all that. But you know, like, are we having wood stud walls or metal stud walls? It's not showing here, it shows.
No, well,
But is wood stud is gonna be tile, or is it gonna be gypsum board?
right,
Or, you know, that, so that all that information will be then 100% clear, and everyone's knowing exactly what they're getting. And of course, we'll talk with the building renovation team about finish selection, something like that, or, you know, I mean, we're not gonna do it as a vacuum, we're gonna do it as a team, right?
Right.
And that's what the idea is, we're all working together.
Right.
For the end goal.
so I have then a couple follow-ups. Currently, the basement of the building, the city required the basement to be fire protected with sprinkler systems during the 1988 renovation. So would we anticipate the possibility that when the city fire department looks at the addition, they may want that fire protected? And have we anticipated a potential cost there?
We have solution virtually.
We do have.
Okay. I think we do.
The policy we usually use when doing any kind of project, we will schedule a meeting with. When we schedule that meeting with the city, that's involving the building department, the fire department, at a joint meeting, where we sit down, we walk through with them how we interpret the code interpretation for this project. So to the point of some things that are being sprinkled, some not being sprinkled, we will address that at that time to make sure there's, the worst thing that can happen is they come out to the job site when things are in construction, going, whoa, wait a minute, why is this not sprinkled?
Right.
So once we have that approval from them initially, we have something to fall back on and say, this has already been reviewed. Sometimes you'll find that the inspectors that come to the job site don't necessarily know what's going on internally within the city, so it gives everybody a chance to catch up and be on the same page.
Then a follow-up, I'm wondering about site engineering. We're making changes to this elevation with the two barrier-free parking spots. The site plan, there was some work that had to be done during the 2000 renovation with Hall and Hall in regards to stormwater movement around the property. Do we anticipate a lot of engineering requirements for when we start making changes to the existing parking lot on the southwest side?
I think we had a quote from Hall and Hall.
I think we did. I think you're right, Jorge.
I know they're assuming a range of price depending on what the city requires.
Right.
And I think they took into account what it is. And we did think about sprinklers or not sprinklers.
We did.
I looked at the pricing. I don't think we have a number for that in the last estimate.
Right.
I have to take more carefully. I don't have time to go. I got my papers here, but but that will definitely be addressed as we go through the process. That's one of the things that I guess phase 2A, I guess.
Right.
We'll
Exactly.
talk about that.
Right.
Oh, before we break ground, whether or not we need a sprinkler,
Right.
where the sprinkler's gonna be, how it's gonna be designed,
Right.
and how many heads we're gonna have, and what kind of sprinkler systems. It's gonna be all figured out, and that's why I said we have more. We have more than what this is showing, well, and that's what takes us time to get it all put together.
So then in phase 2A, we are looking at as many details as we can possibly look at without being in construction itself.
Correct.
So we will look at the elements that we're going to have to deal with during planning, construction, and eventually moving in. Anticipating as best we can any unknowns. Well, the contingency would cover some of those unknowns. But other than that, there really should be no significant changes once the shovel goes into the dirt. If we've done our job properly in this first phase, there should be no, unless we want to make a change, there should be no major surprises or changes during the construction phase.
Got that.
And ultimately, the sooner the less expensive.
Always, always.
Barges or whatever are gonna start hitting stores. Barges stores.
Our vote should go forward with phase 2, which is actually phase 2A, is next week. So if that's a yes vote, we're praying that the congregation feels confident enough to venture on to the next stage. then what would be the anticipated point where we might be looking at phase 2B, which is basically saying, here's the price. Sign the check or sign the contract or whatever we do with it.
I think the schedule is very soon.
Well, I mean, based on the size of the project, I would think that you could have 3 months.
Yeah.
Can you take your mask off, please?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think based on the size of the project and what we would do drawing wise, we're probably looking at 3 months from the time you approve. So we have drawings to turn over to Jim to get final pricing.
And then Jim, how long would it take you to get final pricing? That you've been with us along the way too.
I've been along the way, so I don't know, 2-3 weeks, probably. We have something to.
There you go. We'll make it 4 months from this time. We have to be able to.
So-
contract.
So then 4 months to permitting.
It's a little bit.
Okay.
Only because of how the city works. You need to go out to the city and turn something in, and now you have to submit it all. Yeah, so now it seems like for whatever reason, it takes longer for them to approval.
Right.
Traditionally, when we do, we put something out to bid. Regardless of whether Jim's involved or not, usually from the time that he gets provided drawings, he provides a price, you sign a contract, it's probably 4 weeks.
Okay.
5, because there's some things that, you have to make sure your lender is all on board if you're borrowing.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of things that come into play between the time he submits a price and you sign it. Now, we can expedite some of those, and we can be ahead of the game, we can have contracts filled out, things like that, ready to go, waiting for your signature. But we have to work together to make that happen as quickly as you can.
Right.
It's not unusual also for us. The city doesn't like this, but we sometimes will submit a set of drawings to the city for review ahead of Jim actually having a signed contract. We'll sign off on it as design professionals and let them start their process so that we can. And then Jim has to mobilize us. To get here, you guys may have to take some things out of spaces, you have to move, so you have to think about all those things. It's a relationship to start.
But I think we could say that 4 months, you get a price, right? 4 months between drawings and get a price. And then the rest is, like you said, coordination of the city or you guys moving things around or whatever. Questions?
Vern has another comment, a question.
Was there any estimated cost of each phase?
Well, we said it's the working drawings. When we get the working drawings done, it'll be 80% of the phase 2 cost for our fees.
Great.
So.
And the proposal, the resolution that is coming before you,
Do your mask.
the resolution that will be presented or re-presented, actually, is first presented in October, is the same one where this is the one where our design experts have predicted $64,200 for this work that needs to be done to come up with the working drawings and the estimating and all of that. To which our council added an extra contingency piece so that you're actually being asked to say, yes, go ahead with phase 2 and under no circumstance spend more than $70,000. So that is the actual resolution for this phase. And we have that money in cash.
That's for phase 1, right?
Phase
Two.
2A.
Yeah.
This is phase 2A. We've already done phase 1 and that came in right on budget.
Right on budget.
6,000.
Yeah.
And that's been paid for. We have the money for phase 2A. And in this process of 4 months, we will be working with the capital appeal team to bring us to that point where we can confidently sign the contracts. And that involves our treasurer, who has been researching mortgages, and of course, our capital appeal team, who will be visiting with people and keeping everybody involved. And as of the end of January, what Jeanette reported to us was that we're only $96,000 away making this a thing, a real thing. So I don't know if that helps, Vern, but that's the numbers we have right now. The actual project, of course, is going.
Then a follow-up question to Mr. Unzeitig. Mr. Unzeitig, do you find there their budget pricing at concept phase pretty accurate. You've all worked together before, and you've seen their budget pricing like at St. Wenceslas. Did you find they were pretty close between the concept budget and the actual construction budget?
Yeah, my original budget is
Really? From concept to construction? Boy, these guys are pretty good at coming up with concept budgets. And
But we'll see, but I didn't have the 10%
right. Right. So then we're anticipating that the budget that was presented from the concept drawings should be fairly close, within reason.
In normal times, I'd say,
Yeah. Yeah,
I still think it's fairly close.
right. And we would have, when this next phase is completed, we should have a very clear understanding what our construction costs would actually be. Give or take inflationary pressures.
My understanding is phase 2A, you will have a contract in front of you.
Right.
There will be no question, that's the contract, again, with contingency.
With contingencies.
I mean,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised, you break to the ground, and you say,
Oh, yeah,
what's this pipe doing here?
that's right. This was not on any drawings.
Shows this
That's
pipe
right.
Here,
That's right.
you're supposed to be. Something was coming in or something, they came in different height, and all that just throws things out of the water.
It sure does.
But we work together with you, right? With you all, and so. But yeah, by the end of phase 2A, there'll be a contract with a dollar number. And
So the fundraising we're doing is realistic then. It's not that we should not see large changes in our total target fundraising efforts for this construction. That we should anticipate that the numbers that we're looking to raise to are fairly accurate numbers.
we believe so.
Yeah.
Remember, COVID's thrown a wrench on everything.
Yeah, it sure has.
This whole supply line thing, and maybe you can get it for the same cost, but hey, yeah, it's not gonna be here for another 4 months or
Right.
6 months or whatever.
Right. Or it's no longer available or, right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So, but here's the deal, we'll be speaking with your building renovation team. We're not going to be in the dark. And if we're saying, wait a minute now, this isn't going the direction we think it should be. In other words, we have our targets, we have some ideas where we've got dollar amounts kind of spread out.
Right.
And it wasn't Jim comes back and says, wait a minute, we're talking about X amount more money. Then we have to come back to the building renovation team and say, well, folks, this is where we're at right now. What's your idea? Right?
And I would anticipate that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
A 2x4 for most of my career, 30 to 50 cents a foot. It's about 50.
I know.
So that tells you what we're dealing with. Now, it might come down next year when the sawmills can catch up.
Yeah.
It might not.
But no one knows. No one does. No.
See that?
And I would anticipate from a congregational point of view that the building renovation team would be having regular meetings during this phase to bring people up to speed. Okay, this price is in, this price is in. We're looking good, or this number went out of whack. We're going to have to make some changes to get this phase this working. Right.
You'll know. I'll tell Gary and Jorge, long before we got an issue here, we got to fix this.
Right.
Long before it ever gets out.
Right.
And that was, I just bring us back to Jim Money's question about the contract worded that it will not exceed X number of dollars. Right? Right. And so we know that we're all dealing in good shape. If something happens that it's like it might, then there's a big conversation.
Right.
Exactly. Okay, Vern had a follow-up.
What happens if the vote goes for the design and everything? And then when the time comes for construction price is so astronomically out of control, what happens then?
First of all, I think along the way, there could be a break on that design. I mean,
Right.
it's gonna take us 3 months to get through this, and so forth. So if within the first 3 or 4 weeks, we're like, wait a minute, we're getting numbers that are way out of line. You're gonna break at that point.
Right.
And then you pay us to that point.
Right.
I mean, you
Right.
pay us to that percent, how much work we got done.
Right.
How much work Jim got done. I mean, there's a price for this, all this initial work and so forth for estimating. So, and that's it. That you can pause, right?
Right.
But if we're going along and we're saying, yeah, we're hitting the target numbers, we look good. I don't think there will be a surprise at the end. But there shouldn't be a surprise at the end because we've been hitting our target numbers along the way. And that's my understanding how we expect this thing to work. Gary, you have a-
Yeah, I think I was gonna add to that if we would go what used to be the old traditional design, bid and build process, we could design it, we could put it out for bid, Jim and 3 or 4 other contractors may bid it, and then all of a sudden if the number comes back and it's not 800,000, it's $1 million. Now we've got to change our drawings and try to get back to that $800,000 number, or you have to raise an additional 200,000. This process is hopefully going to keep that in check so that when that is out on the street for bid, because Jim's been working with subcontractors to get some feedback on cost, we're pretty confident we're going to be within a couple percentage points of what that number is. You know, given the fact that sometimes, well, let's take paint as an example. Jim picks a painter to work with, and that painter tells him the cost of paint this project is 40,000. Or maybe if he bids it to 3 painters, maybe that 40,000 all of a sudden becomes 39,000 or 38,000. You know, that's the advantage of him working with us to get some pricing, so we have a target that's pretty close. In other words, if he has a subcontractor that has a higher price, we may find a less expensive contractor to do the same work and save money on the project. But it may help to offset some other things that may have gone up because material prices went up and nobody can control it.
And just to confirm, the work that we're considering to do now does not compel us to go ahead with construction. Right. It does not compel us to go ahead with construction. And I think
not compelling you to even finish the working drawing.
right. Well, yeah. It does. But it not to finish the working drawings would, from this member of the building renovation team, would not be a good use of all our time and talents. Absolutely.
Choosing people who have a good track record and have pulled this kind of thing off multiple times and.
That's what they do for a living.
Here, you want to share how often Novak Design Group has done churches? I mean, he's done a bazillion. Okay, bazillion might.
That's a big number.
Maybe 30 church projects
Right.
of all different sizes and magnitudes. So just here in Cedar Rapids alone, I mean, we've worked with Jim on St. Lawrence. We did St. Mark's Lutheran Church on Bacon Lunch on Seattle. So two different projects there. That project was both phases of that were done the same way doing this. So, you know, what's always interesting is most churches want more than they can afford.
Right.
And so, you know, it's not unusual for us to sit down and program what the congregation wants and find out that, you know, as an example, St. Mark's is a great example of that. When they all said and done, what they thought they wanted was a $10 million project. The fact is what they could afford is 6. And so they, you know, initially they had to decide what was going to be phase 1, what was going to be phase 2. Worked with First Presbyterian Church downtown, First Lutheran Church on 10th, and so I mean, done a lot of church work in the area, but some churches outside of town. So lots of different delivery methods. You know, some of them have been design, bid, and build. St. Lumilla's Church, a great opportunity there for a project that was bid, and it was amazing. The spread of cost coming back from the contractors. So just depends on what the market is at the time, but the delivery method we're using with Jim there is we've done that probably on 75% of the churches we've done. It's always proven to be good for the client. And again, you always have that option to say it's too expensive, we're not going to proceed. And that's not our goal.
Right.
You know,
No, that's
the
right.
other thing, it's not our goal to raise the cost of the project, so we make more money.
Right.
You may have the answer to this already, but if the church has not been, if one is when phase 2A comes to an end, and the church has not raised as much money as we have been planning, is it all or nothing, or is there some kind of drop back that we can have? Part of the project because we cannot do the whole thing.
Well, so again, I'd say that it's not unusual for us to have alternates to the project, which we have a base bid, but we would want to identify that. So we would have to say, I can't think of a great example here, but let's just say for sake of discussion that revising this wall with these doors here might be an alternate to the project.
Right.
And so let's just say for sake of discussion, that's a $10,000 item. Okay. So when it's bid, you know it's $10,000. So if the base bid doesn't allow you to do that $10,000, you can take that out, and that work would not be included. It's a lot more work for us sometimes to identify all the alternates, so it's also frustrating for the contractor to try to have to identify 15 different alternates to the project, because then what happens is they get the idea that, well, maybe they're not really serious about this. If they're trying to be careful what we do and pick some items that can help you control what your ultimate output in the budget.
I also, I mean, it looks like you have alternates depending on what you want to do. Maybe if you can't raise it all, you might get a mortgage. It looks like you've got some thoughts about there too. I don't know. Again, it looks like you're pretty close. And I think it is doable price wise, as long as we stay within that budget price. And that's our goal. Our goal is to stay under that price rate
So,
and give a good building that way.
keep in mind, our original goal was $600,000. That's not what we needed. That was over and above what we need. So our goal is to go above and beyond. Currently today, we're at 63% of that original goal. Now, percentage wise of what we need. So if we were to do a 30-year mortgage to keep our mortgage payments the same, we are at 80%. We have, with our pledges, we are at 80% of what we need with a 30-year mortgage to actually do this full project. So we are very, very close.
We are.
I'm hearing two different things here. You're saying 63, we're at 63% on the way to the goal. Ritva was saying we're $97,000 short of the goal.
We're saying the same thing.
Yes.
These are,
That's not the same thing.
no, it's, okay. To clarify, the capital appeal goal was $600,000 cash, which, as Jeanette just said, is above and beyond what we need to actually make the project viable. The numbers that are on, that Jeanette has been working with, is when we take phase 2A and phase 2B and the final project, I think it was like $822,000 or something like that.
Correct.
Okay, if part of the $822,000 includes a 30-year mortgage for $350,000, we are 80% of the way to that goal. Does that make sense? Did I say that clearly?
This might be a good time to bring up the slides that.
I can. Let me, I do, but I can't project them. Look at the screen. Oh, we can share. Ritva can do it. There. They're coming up right now. Ryan is bringing them up as we speak. Look at all the files I have open. There they are. There. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Sure. Let's share screen. Right there. Sure. They're there, right there. Yep.
So our $600,000 goal is roughly this middle column right here. So exactly what she said, we could do a 20-year mortgage, which would be $250,000, it'd be a shorter mortgage. Or we could do a $30,000 or a 30-year mortgage with smaller monthly payments. Now, what we need to do to move forward is over here in column 1. So this is if we take out a 30-year mortgage to keep our mortgage payments the same as they are today. That is the mortgage that we would have to take out for 30 years. These are our current pledges that we have. So we have 96,000 yet that we need to write.
96,000 to get to what?
96,000 to get to 822,000. That 822 includes phase 2A and phase 2B.
What size of mortgage?
330,000 3-year, $350,000 mortgage. Now keep in mind, so I have to admit, I don't like debt. That is, I know something that our family personally does not like. One thing to keep in mind is that I know for us personally, we do this at our home, and I will be an advocate for this. I personally don't like 30-year mortgage. I think it's too long. However, if we sign up for a 30-year mortgage, we can always pay it off early. I know for us, that's what we strive for at our house. Is to pay that off early. There's no reason we can't have capital steel funds, 5-10 years down the road from now. We get that from a 30-year mortgage down to a 20-year mortgage. Or less, correct.
So I have a follow-up. The $350,000 mortgage that we're anticipating is basically the same mortgage level that we've been maintaining since 2000 when the new addition went on.
How far was that when it started?
That was more than 350, wasn't it, Chuck? When we did the 2000 sanctuary?
We weren't here.
And how much was the mortgage?
Don't know.
Which you guys have to give so much credit. You have a council that will not let this congregation spend more money than it can. And we could dream up all kinds of $2 million projects, but this council will not let that happen.
Ring for the council.
Yes.
So that, if I remember, mortgage payments are about $1,600 a month.
Yes.
And so our monthly budget is not going to increase.
Right.
It will stay the same.
Right.
And you factored in interest rates, basically,
That was, so this was a snapshot of when, I think in December, when I took these numbers.
Robin's the one who's doing our research.
But let's not forget, the goal here is that when we're done this construction, this building will function to support our mission much better than it's doing now, much better than it's doing now. We can't forget that goal. The goal is that the building's got to support what we as a congregation believe. We're a worshiping faith community. We hold up certain beliefs and principles. I believe we do that really well, but our building isn't.
And so to go back to the original question. Percentages. So if we take 96,000 and we add it to what we need to raise in order to do phase A or phase 2A and phase 2B, we are 80% of the way there.
Right.
Now, if we want to go above and beyond, and if we want to shoot for around this goal, then we're about 63% of the way there. So that's where the two numbers come in. Hopefully that clarified it. Yes.
I can't see the numbers, so what I was paying 63% of the year. Small town, $600,000, that's about $375,000, $380,000. If you're $97,000 short of that, we're at $503,000. What's the difference?
Size of the mortgage.
Yeah, so let me go through the two options. The first option here is what we need for raise. So that first one, we are assuming that we are having a 30-year, $350,000 mortgage. Again, that keeps our mortgage payments the same. As of today, based upon our current pledges, we only have $96,000 yet to be raised.
$96 of what?
And I'm sorry.
$96,000 of what?
I would have to, I don't have the.
Of $822,200.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know we could, I feel where you're struggling. This is one of our places where we are learning. Which is that for Jonathan, we have to explain things because Jonathan cannot see the screen.
Yep, understood.
Now, I believe these numbers were actually included in the council report that went out as an e-news. If you did not get a printed copy of that, Jonathan, let's make sure that you get that so that you can examine those. The reason I'm reading this is that in 9 minutes, we have to reflect that. This always happens when we have conversations around a building project. We run out of time, but those numbers, I think it would help you to see those numbers rather than having Jeanette struggling to.
My struggling. Yeah.
Whether 250,000 or 350,000, whether 30-year versus 20-year. That's the difference. That's the commitment. So 90% and 60%.
Right.
So
They have to have it.
Yes.
Yeah. No. If anybody has questions about where we're at with capital, please feel free to say we can have any answer on.
Okay.
Single stage.
But I don't think I'm connecting. I can see the printer.
I have it on other.
Oh, do you? Okay.
That's it.
No, that, oh, maybe.
No, that's not fun. Drop that down.
At window.
Add printer. Not searched. Oh, well.
I'm not connected. No, sorry.